So today I have Afshan Ahmad with me, who's the Chief Number Cruncher at Afshan Ahmad CPA Professional Corporation. Welcome.
Thank you, Teresa.
It's lovely to have you here. And we've had the pleasure of working together for, I think, probably about 3 or 4 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And I certainly have enjoyed working with you and you helping our clients.
The feeling is mutual. Thank you.
Thank you. So I thought it would be interesting to tell people just a little bit about you and to just have some conversation so they get to know a little bit about you and your experience and what you've been doing. So I'll just start with your bio, which is, yes, you're the Chief Number Cruncher at your company. And you're goal-driven, you're organized, and you're results-oriented for both yourself and your clients. And I know that you've had over 15 years experience in the accounting industry. And with that is the experience in taxation, financial reporting, and bookkeeping. I think did you used to do auditing as well in the days gone by?
In my previous life, yes. And when I took the self-employment journey, I decided not to do audit.
I've heard that it's not always simple for small companies to be an auditor. There's a very onerous process.
It is, and it tends to be expensive in terms of insurance and whatnot.
And expensive for the customer too.
Absolutely. And a lot of my customers are on the smaller side, on a smaller scale. So I don't think it would be a service that they would necessarily be looking for.
That's good to hear. Some of the businesses you work with, I've heard, startups, independent contractors, construction, IT, and professional businesses. Is that still correct?
That's right.
That's awesome. So some of your services are listed here on the screen where you help people with accounting and bookkeeping, corporate income tax, business income taxes, personal income taxes, government remittances, incorporating their business, and then advisory services around bookkeeping, financials, financial management. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear that. So as many of you know, BACD strives to be the go-to business resource for businesses in the Durham region. We're one of 53 centers across Ontario, and we are here to serve entrepreneurs. Our mission is that every business we serve or every person we serve achieves business success. Because when you achieve business success, then you make money. And when a business makes money, they spend money, and they spend money in our local community. They put their children in sports, they go to restaurants, they're dry cleaners, they shop locally. So, the research shows that when people are successful and they're making money, that the money stays in the community and the community benefits from it as a whole. So our goal is really to work with those small businesses. As an organization, we are a not-for-profit and we work with over 5,500 entrepreneurs a year in all kinds of different ways, either in business advisory services, events, networking events, entrepreneurial funding programs. So we have all of those and that kind of information on our website. So if you'd like to take a look, we'd certainly appreciate it. One of those things that we do offer on our website is our expert network. So Afshan is a member of the expert network and works with our clients who need help with their bookkeeping. One of the most referred categories we actually have in the expert network is the accounting and financial, because just about any business that gets started and starts to make money needs to be able to keep accurate records for their business and also to do proper financial reporting. So I thought I'd ask Afshan to tell us a little bit about perhaps the clients and the services that she's managing for her clients, and maybe some of the workshops you've done here, just to give people a little bit of an idea of the experience that you have, if that would be all right.
Absolutely. So first off, everything you've said resonates with me so well. BACD does such a phenomenal job. One of my biggest regret is that when I started out, I didn't know you guys existed. It would have made my journey a lot easier.
Sure.
And I would have met the right people a lot earlier. So anyone who's looking to start out, or even if they already have a business, BACD is a great resource. The amount of networking events, the amount of learning opportunities that are there are tremendous. I've had the pleasure of doing some workshops through BACD. Most of the ones that I have done have been either focused on QuickBooks. A while back, we did a lot of QuickBooks training. But in the recent past, we've been talking about taxation a lot. We usually refer to either how to do your taxes or how to organize your books, so when the time comes to do your taxes, there are no surprises for you. And I'm just one of the presenters. There's several other presenters who also focus on really good accounting and tax knowledge. Most of the workshops have either been free or they've been so nominal that I think if someone who's starting out a business, even if they're outsourcing all of their bookkeeping and accounting, it's good to have a background to understand and to sort of check on their accountant or bookkeeper to see what they're doing, because ultimately the business owner is the one who's responsible for everything.
All right.
And accounting is just one field that you do workshops, and there's several other. My favorite is account marketing, social media especially. You can never learn enough, and it's great to have so many stuff come up all the time. And I'm in Whitby, you're in Whitby. It's easy to get to Whitby.
Right.
So I'm always very thankful. And you had asked me how do I help my clients. I've met a lot of startups. I've noticed Durham has become a hub for sort of startups, especially in IT field, as well as retail, whether it's chiropractor's office coming up or a spa coming up. Durham is really growing, and we only see it in just houses being built everywhere, but also businesses. And it's an exciting time to get involved with a business that's starting out, because in 2 to 3 years, what they come, it's like your baby. You see them take their first step, eat solid, sleep through the night. And same with a business, you see them grow. They couldn't qualify for a credit card the first day, and now they not only have credit cards, but they have a line of credit as well. To be part of their growth, to be part of growing journey of so many different businesses is so exciting. And you had mentioned that accounting category is one of the most referred category through BACD, and that's no surprise, because even if you're making $500 a year or you're making $5 million a year, CRA pretty much treats everyone the same way. Your reporting requirements are the same, your bookkeeping requirements are the same. So every business needs to have somebody helping them in that area.
Right.
And I'm always happy to help anyone, even if it's just an advice at the very start, because if you do things right from the start, then everything falls in place.
Very good point. One of the workshops we did was like completing your T2125. Tell us just a little bit about what that is and what's the benefit of actually going through that kind of workshop.
So T2125 is for people who have a business that's considered sole proprietorship. So they're not incorporated. They are sole proprietors or even partners, and their income and expenses that are related to the business are reported on their personal taxes. And that form is called T2125. It's filed when you filed your T1, which is your personal tax. To coming to a workshop like that allows you to A, how to file the return, and B, it also makes you aware of what categories that you can write off. Because when we see 16 different items listed on that form, a lot of us, when we were spending our money growing our business, didn't realize that may qualify. So it sort of puts all those ideas in your head going forward. What things you can write off. And for some businesses, it might be simple enough that they can do their own tax returns. If not, at the very least, they can organize the information the best way possible. And T2125 is basically our Bible, because that's what we report to the government. If you do end up outsourcing it to an accountant and you give them information organized the way it should be organized in a T2125, then you're saving a lot of costs going to which is never a bad thing.
No, and I think I'd like to suggest this year, because I know we did 2 of them last year. Did we do one in January and one in March? Or this year, actually, we did one in January and one in March.
Something like that.
If we could do one of those online through Zoom, and you walk us through the form. So we'll run a workshop that way, and then do one here at our offices again, because I think that would be very useful to people, just to organize their information and also just to see what it is. I mean, knowledge is power, right? You've got
Absolutely. A lot of times I would have met someone in one of the workshops and they would say, I've learned it. Now I know that I don't want to do this on my own, because now I understand how it's done properly, and this is not what I want to do. If, knowing is half the battle. If you realize that you were doing something wrong and now you want to correct it, the sooner you can start on that, the better it is. So just because you come to a workshop like that, that doesn't mean you have to do a DIY, that you have to do it yourself. But if you are definitely doing it yourself, the more you know, the better. Most of us rely on Dr. Google, but Google is as good as the person who's putting the information in.
Yes, because if Google was that great, our kinds of organizations wouldn't exist.
Absolutely.
You could do everything yourself. And I still think there's so much value in actually getting to talk to someone face to face or online or whatever the case is, but people who can help you in the context of your business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can speak from personal experience. I've tried to do some home renovations myself because it seems so easy. And I've done the damage I've done. I've ended up paying a lot more than what would have originally paid.
Right.
Now I bought for the stuff, wasted my time. Now I have to pay someone to fix my mistake and do what I had originally intended. Accounting and taxes are no different.
Tell me, how long have you been in your own business now?
So it has been 15 years that I've been self-employed. And
Right.
prior to that, I had 4 years of working in a JOB.
Oh, okay, cool. What inspired you to say, oh, I can do this for myself. I don't have to work in a big company?
Um, Honestly, it was very hard. I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. Everybody in my family has always had a job. I was discouraged from them because it's just too weird not to work for someone and have benefits and have 9 to 5 hours and have 3 weeks paid vacation. What inspired me was the price I had to pay for all of that. I would be gone from my home for 12 hours. The family life balance doesn't really exist, no matter how hard we try. Working from home was very difficult. I didn't even back then, 15, 20, 50 years ago, technology wasn't there. So there were not a lot of opportunities where you could work from home. You were always going downtown. Living in Whitby at the time, there were no proper jobs in Whitby. At the very bare minimum, you're going to Markham and most likely Toronto. I was really seeking the work-life balance. I didn't want to not work and take a break for 15, 20 years, but I wanted to do it on my terms, and self-employment seemed to be the only way that could happen.
Right. Because you have, wasn't sure how many boys. Was it 2 boys or
So
4?
when I started, I had 1 daughter, and I thought that was so difficult. 15 years later, I had 3 daughters and a son.
And what are their ages?
My eldest is 15, my son is 10, and my twin girls are 8.
Wow, wow, wow. That's amazing. Twins?
Yes. So, entrepreneurs are made of some different stuff, right? Like,
How did you know that?
The more you work.
I mean, how did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Because I mean, here you are with 4 children. You're pretty much a single mom.
Well, I started off with 1.
Yeah.
So I didn't think there would be so many more kids. But, the work-life balance, I guess I had time to focus on my personal life and grow my family. I couldn't have done it if I was working. If I was working for someone, either I wouldn't have had that many kids, or I wouldn't have grown in my career as much as I have.
Yeah.
Because I worked through my mat leaves. What mat leaves? The baby would be like 3 days old, and I'm doing my payroll remittance because it has to be done.
Right.
Your clients are okay if you're working at 3 in the morning, as long as you get the work done, but your employer probably won't be okay. So I think self-employment is a no-brainer. I'm just surprised more people are not self-employed.
I think it's moving that way. I see our world, our community, as you mentioned. I mean, for sure, Durham region is growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, I think our population is 650,000 right now, and it's set to grow to over 1 million in the next 10 years. I mean, that's
I have no doubt in my mind.
Grow. Yeah.
Everywhere you drive, you see homes.
Yeah.
New homes building. You don't see a lot of new offices coming in. So then where are people working? They're probably self-employed.
I'm going to say self-employed, co-working spaces. So we're going to see more of that happening as well, which I think is really cool, that we'll be able to have those co-working spaces, because I think, that's good. We need those spaces.
Absolutely.
More and more people are working from home. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, 15 years ago, to open a business, like, it was much more difficult and more expensive, so more cost prohibitive to open a business 15 years ago, because you needed a retail space, you needed landlines, you needed today you can go into a co-working space and pay $100 a month for a few hours a month, and you have a boardroom and you have a mailbox and you have all kinds of things that you couldn't have, 15 years ago, that would have cost, I don't know, $2,500 a month.
An arm and a leg and you would be isolated, right?
Right.
Working in an environment like you're describing, you have a community. As soon as you walk in, there's other people.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing about being self-employed, isolation.
Yes.
So
Please never feel isolated. Always come to BACD. Like, we have 200 events a year that people can come to. And like, every single one of those opportunities is an opportunity to meet someone you don't know. and then we also run those networking events that you can come to. Tell me, what do you think is the pattern or the formula for being successful in business? Like, you see a lot of businesses. How do you see who's going to make it and who's not?
So the first thing is adaptability. You may have an idea, a product or a service that you are in love with, but if it's not going to sell or if it hasn't sold in the last year or so, you need to be ready to make some difficult decisions. And I think a lot of people, that's where they get caught up. They keep pouring more and more resources in, and then ultimately, that's where we hear bankruptcy because you can't do it anymore. So to be able to love what you're doing, but have that, almost like a parent's love, like hard, tough love. If it's not working, then I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Even in my own business, there are services I'm not crazy about. But if they are the ones who are bringing more people in or making business grow more efficiently, then you take those on.
Right.
Obviously, you're not going to do something that you completely hate and that's illegal, but you need to be able to adapt when to make the change that you need to make the change. The other thing is direction and discipline. So this society today is very different from when I started out. We had no social media or barely any. Right now, you can literally work 40 hours a week and get nothing done because you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you were tweeting. Networking is great. Social media networking is great too. But you need to have some boundaries. You need to know what you need to outsource. Just because you enjoy something, if it's not translating into dollars, then you need to reevaluate those things. So I do see that a lot of people are very tired of working, but they're not accomplishing anything because they just get sidetracked.
And that's where the direction comes in, is like really knowing your business plan,
Absolutely.
knowing what you want to achieve. I
And
was
accountability. Like in a lot of workshops that I've done at BACD, we always talk about budget. Like budget doesn't have to be scary, but you need to hold yourself accountable because now you don't have a manager you're reporting to. No one's gonna fire you, except for yourself. If you can't meet your own bills, you need to know this is how much I need to bring in.
right.
So budgets are important and hold yourself accountable.
And I think, what I like about the budget is that it's a good place to say, okay, here, black and white, this is what I need, and that's what I need to strive for. I always say that businesses should treat themselves as if they are elite athletes. If you're in a business for yourself, an athlete, for instance, every day they get up, they know what their goal is, they know what they need to reach for, they know what they need to eat, what they need to drink, how much they need to sleep, what exercises they need to do. So they're so intensely focused on their goals, right? And if you think about your business takes discipline, just like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
It takes this discipline, adaptability, and direction. Like, you need to have that discipline in your own business for it to be successful. I have not seen many businesses just like take off and go, oh, I was lucky, I made $1 million.
Unless you're in IT app development and you happen to create something, aside from that, the 99% of the population has to work hard to get where they want to get.
That's true. I love the analogy. Many people say, oh, they were an overnight success. Well, that overnight success was 10 years in the making.
Absolutely. And no one sees that, right?
Yeah.
Because when we post on social media, we post all the good stuff, the positive things. No one posts like the endless nights you were up working, arguing and crying. No one posts that. So overnight successes, you're right, there is no such thing.
Yeah, very true. Tell me about your business. How do you market yourself, and what have you found to be the most successful?
So not my strongest pursuit. As much as networking is important, because I work a lot of hours, it's sometimes hard to get out. So being part of BACD has really helped me because I met a lot of people that I just love to hang out with. And the fact that we can talk business is even better because most of my friends have jobs, so they don't really get self-employment.
Right.
So it's nice to be around people with the same mindset.
Yeah.
What I have noticed is people like to work with people they like. So they may have an accountant they're very happy with, but they like you as a person. So instead of referring their accountant, they're referring you. And you haven't even asked, but they know. That has been very helpful because it's been 15 years. So now word of mouth is something I can rely on.
Good.
But back in the day when I was starting out, social media was not prevalent. I did the good old, newspaper and Kijiji, but Kijiji worked back then.
Yes.
Now it's a different ballgame. Social media has come a long way. Just meeting people and not having a goal in mind that I want to convert them and get them as clients, that's, I think, the most helpful thing. Just being around business people without any expectation of taking them as clients. And half the time you're referring them to people that you didn't even know before you came to some event.
It's very
So
true.
getting out is very important. Being prominent or at least existing in the social media market is very important because people do go to one of those platforms. They will Google you or they'll Facebook you or they'll ask on a Facebook group. Every business is different. Some work great on Instagram, some work great on Pinterest. You probably have to try it all before you figure out what works for you.
And you've done that. You've tried a lot. And I think the expert network has given you some value by being part of it.
Absolutely. Because BACD is a well-recognized organization in Whitby, in Durham region, I would say. If you think somebody is an expert, people will believe they are.
That's good. I think they're experts. Hey, but also on the flip side of that, I also think people do business with people they like, just like you said earlier. So, interview a few people and see who it is that you will kind of identify with and relate to, and that's who you pick.
Anything you do, anytime you're hiring 3 people at the very minimum, whether it's a real estate agent for your house, whether it's a lawyer for your divorce, whether it's an accountant for your business, someone could be an expert in their field, but you may not like them.
Yeah.
Or not like the way they carry themselves or speak to you. And that's very important because an accountant is part of your team. You're going to talk to them more often than not.
Somebody who knows everything about you. Tell me, have you seen any significant changes happening in your profession over the last 15 years? And then how do they impact business?
Tons and tons. So our biggest enemy or our biggest friend is the artificial intelligence. Okay. Every time we go to grocery stores, how many times we see a cashier now as opposed to self-serve? Same thing in my field. You can do your own taxes with a touch of a button because CRA has made it that much easy to download everything. It's not costing you money. A lot of our jobs, the simple ones will be eliminated. We can see it. So this is from now on, I think we will really see the good accountants stand out more so because a lot of simple stuff can be just done by yourself.
Fair enough.
If someone has a T4 and RSP slip, I tell them, you know what, you can probably just file it on your own. There's not a lot of tax planning involved. So this is a time for tax planning. This is a time for offering services that robots haven't caught up to yet. The personal touch is never going to go away. As humans, we always want that.
Yeah.
So this is the time to work harder because the truth of the matter is a robot is less likely to make a clerical error than you and I would. But a robot will not understand you as well as you and I would.
Yeah, the human element is very important for sure. And then, of course, software has done that too, right? Never mind AI. Software has so changed your industry.
So much. Like when I started, it wasn't paper, but a lot of it was on paper or Excel. Now you don't know anyone who's not using something that's based on a cloud, like whether it's QuickBooks Online, whether it's Wave, and it's made life so much easier for the business owner and the accountant. You're taking pictures of your receipts, so I'm not getting any shoe boxes dropped off at the end of the day. And that stuff is there, right? It's in cloud. It's not going to disappear. If CRA is looking for it, it's not that difficult to get it to them. So there's definitely pros, but it's really time for people in my field to hone in on their skills because being fluffy is not going to cut it anymore.
That's very, very true. Well done. I like the way you said that. Tell me, what advice would you give to people that want to start their own businesses?
Be informed. If you think it's wasting time going to networking events or going to workshops, it's not, because when you get busy and start making money, you will never step out to do those things. Do your research as much as you can and don't be in love with your product or your service. It has to be practical. It has to work. And just like real estate, location, if you're going to be outside of your home, opening a location, retail spot or whatnot, be ruthless. If it doesn't work, you are not going to be able to change it.
Yeah.
I've seen so many great businesses fail because they were in the wrong place. And it doesn't matter how great you are, how well you do everything, how good your accounting is. Everything has to check out, and those things will only happen when you talk to people, meet people, and if someone comes to see you, you see so many businesses, you're going to know very quickly if it's going to work or not, instead of getting offended. If someone, a lot of people get defensive and offensive and get offended.
Well, they're in love with their ideas, so you don't want to like talk them out of love.
Exactly. So, don't be defensive. If someone is telling you something, they have nothing to gain. You are the only one who has something to gain. Do as much research as possible and align yourself with the right people.
Awesome. I love that. Now I want to ask you a technical question that I get hung up in myself. I try to explain the differences to people between the profit margin and a markup, and why a profit margin is a better pricing tool than a markup. And I don't know if you can.
Interesting. Profit margin is your bottom line, right? So it's, in the simplest terms, it's your income that came in, and all the expenses that you have spent money on. Whatever is left over is your profit margin.
And that's a percentage, right? You divide the one by the other.
Do that as a percentage. I would prefer to go the profit margin route, just because I know how much I want profit margin.
Okay.
So if right now, say if it's 15%, but to survive, I need at least 30%, and to thrive, I need 45%, then I would like to do my markup based on that.
How do you know what markups to go with?
A lot of times the industry sets it.
Okay.
So for example, if you're a nail salon and a pedicure costs $45, unfortunately, that's how much you're going to have to charge, unless you are providing something so exclusive that someone would pay $60. As soon as you go below the market price, you're really shooting yourself in the long run, because undercutting, it's hard to keep up with your quality and whatnot. So always do market research, which is more difficult for services than it is for products. But if you know what area you're going to be based on, you have to know how much this thing that you are selling, how much does it cost?
Very true.
And then you work backwards. How much is it going to cost you? So if you're selling a sweater that Costco sells, the chances are Costco is buying it at pennies compared to you. So how are you going to manage? If you know your bottom line, you need to make at least 30% profit, then you work backwards. And sometimes it works, and sometimes that's what makes you decide that this is not going to work.
We've had clients like that who've said, thank you. You taught me the biggest, you made me the biggest favor ever by making me do the market research. I decided it wasn't worth it. It wasn't going to pay me to be in business.
No, absolutely. I've seen business owners who are bringing six figures, but they're making less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Because they offered a price that they had to be competitive in the market, but they didn't have the means to source the product at a lower cost, which a lot of startups don't.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the clients we deal with, most of them are small businesses. I mean, they grow, like a lot of them do grow to be much bigger, but they start out small. Mm-hmm. And they cannot afford to start out as the cheapest, because they're a small business, minimum wage, labor, overhead, materials. There's just no way that, and I just think that if you go in with the idea that you want to be the cheapest on the market, it's just a race to the bottom.
It is a race to the bottom, and then you're only attracting people who are loyal to price.
Yes. And you want people who are loyal to you, or loyal to value as opposed to price. Right?
And we've all paid for something that we know we were paying a little bit extra, but we liked what we were getting, or we liked the person we were dealing with, and we were okay paying a little bit of extra for what we were getting. But I think it's so easy to focus on your price, because as a new business, you feel like people are only going to come to me if I'm cheap. But in the long run, that's just not good for you.
And you don't want those kinds of customers. Sometimes it's just more hard work than it's worth.
Exactly. So you have to work smart, not always just hard, right?
Yeah. But
it's very nerve-wracking to start off and say my price is going to be higher than the guy who's been around for 25 years.
And this is why.
And this is why, exactly.
Very true. So I hope everybody who gets a chance to listen to this has, got some value out of it. I think, I enjoy talking to Afshan. I really like her manner with clients. She's very, even-keeled, soft-spoken, and I think you're very knowledgeable behind that soft voice.
I appreciate that.
And it's
You've given me a lot of good advice over the years.
Thank you, as have you given me. and our clients. So we
And it's
definitely,
very helpful, and it's so nice to belong to a community because we are all on our own as self-employed, right? Even if we have staff, they're usually reporting to us, so we're not asking them for ideas.
right.
So it's nice to be able to walk into a place, feel welcomed, and talk to people who are in your shoes, because it's hard to find that group.
I'm glad you feel welcome. Yeah, that's important. And we try and aim for that. You know, you want to feel that this is a place you can come and ask questions, or phone and ask questions. And, you know, there's no stupid questions, because we've had all the questions, and
Of course.
we've been in business for ourselves too, and made mistakes and done stupid things. And that's just part of the learning curve, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And if you can learn from someone else's mistakes, it's a lot cheaper to go that way.
And I also think, like, you know, so it's not that you failed, you just found one way that didn't work. Move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
Keep trying.
It's a way that you thought would work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it.
Very true. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate having this opportunity to meet with you and to tell people a little bit more about you, Afshan. In the show notes, I will put the T2125 that we referred to. And then, you know, we'll also, on our events calendar, we will have some of these events coming up. It's more likely like January and March, because those are like tax season times. Then right now, right, this season coming up is sales season, right? It's the season where everybody makes money. So
exactly.
We're going to focus on the taxes after the season. The only thing I'll say is keep a record of all your accounts, so that you know where they all are and you've got your receipts. Start just organizing them into business expenses, so that people, you know, that are helping you with your taxes can find all your stuff, if that's the way you're doing it.
Exactly. But thank you so much, Teresa. It was a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Take care and enjoy this hot day.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
It is nice. Take care.